This week's podcast is sponsored by the Bowers & Wilkins 600 Series 3. The 8th generation of one of Hi-Fi's most acclaimed ranges features some of the most comprehensive upgrades the 600 series has ever received. The Bowers & Wilkins 600 Series 3 is designed for every music lover. It's the attainable way to experience the joys of true sound at home. Discover more at bowerswilkins.com.
Hello and welcome to the AVForums podcast Christmas special. Ho, ho, ho. Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome along. I hope you got your games and everything. We're here for an hour. We're going to talk about all the things that have excited us this year and what we're looking forward to next year. We might even get some tales of what's happened during the year for different people as well. And as you can see, most have made the effort tonight in terms of being festive and wearing. You'll notice that I'm wearing the same shirt that I've probably worn for the last four Christmas specials. Mark, you've got a cracking shirt there. Let's show us that.
Your definition of cracking, Phil, is very different from mine.
It's a semi-professional movie critic. There you go.
I hope to be promoted, or is that demoted next year? Kaz, be warned.
There's charm in the gentleman amateur, you know. That's...
Yeah, honour, absolutely, Ed. There's honour in it.
Right, so Ed's been drinking since 5 yesterday. As you can see, if you're watching us on the video, then it is the movies team and the hardware team joining together for the end of year podcast. If you're listening to audio only, we have tonight Martin, Kaz, Ed, Mark, Matt, Ian, and Simon. Good evening, people.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hopefully you're a regular listener and you'll know whose voice is who. If not, then good luck. That's it, drinking game for tonight. Try and guess who it is. Right, so what we're going to do tonight, we're going to go through basically the year's come to an end. We're going to go through our highlights for AV, hi-fi, home cinema, movies, the cinema, and so on. So that's what's happening tonight. Ed's also going to give us his overall album, vinyl, and maybe some ideas of some playlists, maybe not just one playlist. So we're going to go through that as well. So right, let's kick off, as it were. This is recorded, and from now on the podcast will be recorded going forward, so there is no live chat. But if you do want to get involved and you want to send us your feedback, and it is appreciated, we always go through the feedback. We always read out those questions in the next podcast, so you can do that by either emailing podcast@avforums.com, or of course go into AV Forums forum list, go all the way down to the bottom. You'll find the podcast forum down there. Find the podcast and then leave your comment. We'll either reply in the thread or on the next podcast. So if you want to do that, then do that. The next podcast after this one is after the holidays. We're back with CES. So we're heading out to Vegas yet again for the biggest show on the planet. And of course, we'll have our podcast roundup at the end of that. But of course, we've also got our video content coming from there. So bookmark that. That's all coming up. We're not going to do competitions tonight. Normally competitions take about 25 minutes to get through. On this occasion, we're going to save some time, but do head over to, and the reason why it takes 25 minutes is there's loads of great prizes, and some of the hardware prizes at the minute, we're talking thousands of pounds worth of kit. Thank you very much to everybody that's providing the prizes. There's some fantastic stuff to go and win. So head over to avforums.com/competitions and check out what's there. There's normally more DVDs and Blu-rays and 4K discs that you can throw a stick at, basically. So go ahead over there, and good luck to you. Right.
I think that 2024 early aspiration, Kaz is going to sort one prize on VHS or Laserdisc.
Well, there you go.
I just feel it in my bones. I mean, we're looking at some of the formats he's already sorted. It's just
I actually have some 3D prizes that came in today.
We
are going retro. Yeah. I have no idea why the warehouse messed up, but
magic.
3D Terminator 2.
Oh wow! Yes, latest movies in 3D. Right. Okay, let's get on with the show.
If you'd like to support the AV Forums podcast on a regular basis, then why not become a patron? Head over to patreon.com/AVForums to sign up. You can send us a YouTube super chat or buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/AVForums. All donations help us to improve the website and the podcasts. Thank you to all our supporters.
So like I say, we've got the movies and hardware team here tonight, and we're going to talk about our highlights. So first, a victim this evening to tell us what his highlights were for 2023 is Martin. Martin, what were your highlights of the year?
Well, you probably know I mentioned this in the last podcast, but I absolutely loved, for the couple of weeks that I had it, the Kaleidoscape system, the Strato C player and Terra.
Okay, so explain to people who maybe don't know what Kaleidoscape is, maybe haven't read the review, just briefly, what is it and why is it so great?
So it is a networked video solution where you download and store and keep movies that you buy from their platform. And if you've got a good high bandwidth internet connection, you should be able to download a 4K movie in about 10 minutes. And the movie files themselves have generally a higher quality in terms of video resolution and audio resolution than a standard 4K Blu-ray disc. So we're looking at files of 120 gigs and more, and you can actually see this incredible picture and enjoy amazing sound, but of course you keep everything locally stored on your own library at home. It's an incredible solution. It's very expensive, and it's supported by a stunning user interface. But if you're in the market for a Trinov or Lingdorf or other preamp and a set of very high-end reference power amps as well, then maybe you're in the market for Kaleidoscape. But yes, we're talking for a starter pack about 15 grand. But the only thing I would say is it's just fantastic usability and a great experience. And I hope this kind of technology will come down a little bit in price in the future.
Yeah, so my understanding, I've never used the system. I'm aware of it. I've seen it in many high-end systems through the years. My understanding is some of these titles are direct from the digital cinema package. They're not. They come directly from the studio. So what you're getting is not a made-for-home version. Sometimes you're actually getting the digital cinema version.
Yeah, and these are curated specifically by and for Kaleidoscape. So it's not even in that sort of Blu-ray realm at all. It's a totally separate entity in that respect.
Excellent. So yeah, it is a high-end system. If you've got lots and lots of pennies or very, very deep pockets, certainly the one for you. Any of the movies team interested if this was to drop in price? Is this something that would be a solution for you guys, or are you more physical media still?
Physical media.
Discs forever.
I mean, it sounds very tempting. If Father Christmas is listening and he wants to send me a 15 grand
you haven't been that
package,
good, Kaz.
with 1,000 preloaded titles, my own cinema system, I would love it. Also a new house, if you're listening. Eartha
Kitt covered this well before you know.
But also, I would also add, Kaz, that I love having the movies on my shelf as well, and I want everything that goes with that. I enjoy my library and having the physical media on the shelf. So that would and will never change, no matter how the download and store revolution takes off.
Martin, any acting highlights for you this year? Are you still doing that, or is that something you...
No, I'm afraid that's something from my past generally. Yeah, no, I haven't really found time for anything like that. I was involved quite a bit in the States, but not so much now.
Okay, good stuff. Well, we'll come back for your expectations in a bit. So my next victim is the movie's editor. Kaz, your highlights, please.
Well, left field, one of my favorite things I watched this year was on Netflix, which seems absurd to say. I mean, I can't remember how long it's been running, 6-7 years at least, maybe longer, maybe a decade. It feels like every year I watch all the nonsense on Netflix. Mark refuses to. Simon,
well, Kaz, you watch this shit, so we don't have to.
I know that's what people keep saying. It feels like a burden that I have to watch it so people don't have to. But this year, I think, is my favorite year with Netflix. I've seen a lot of good things, and they've all been surprises. Films that I've just gone, I expected this to be another Netflix movie.
Here, I thought you were going to say that Netflix, your favorite thing about it was the price hikes.
No.
Well, I mean, they are very engaging.
I mean, I don't, all of the streaming services, for what they provide, I've never really had that much of a grudge with what they charge. They all seem kind of proportional. And hikes were inevitable because Netflix are so in debt. It's just they just keep spending money on Ryan Reynolds films. Anyway, I'm going to shout out to Blue Eye Samurai. Probably not many people have heard about it, apart from Simon, who I think was about to say it himself. Maybe.
Yeah, I've finished it. It's absolutely awesome.
Yeah, and so for those who don't know, it came out of nowhere. Netflix do have a good run in sci-fi and in animation and in foreign films, but this is a sort of samurai flavored anime telling a kind of spin on the Count of Monte Cristo tale of revenge. I didn't expect it to be this good. Lashings of sex and violence and character design and evolving narrative. So you expect it to be kind of run and gun, lots of action, but it becomes political, it becomes entrenched in characters, and one of the best watches of the year. I did not expect it from a thing called Blue Eye Samurai on Netflix, which is a cartoon. So, that's my shout out. One of the best things I watched this year.
Excellent. Thanks, Kaz. Right, who are we moving on to? Let's get a little bit of gaming. So we've had movies, we've had home cinema. Let's have some gaming highlights, Ian.
Yeah, well, it's kind of tough to be a bit selective because a lot of the stuff is quite subjective, and I have to admit I haven't played everything. So there's a lot of big hitters around, like Spider-Man 2, Alan Wake 2, Diablo 4, possibly the best game of the year, Baldur's Gate 3, which I'd highly recommend, even though I haven't played it, just based on what people are talking about. And it's the kind of game that doesn't get the hype of like a Starfield or like Spider-Man 2 did. So the fact that it's done so well and so many people are saying good things about it says a lot about how good the game could be. On a couple of personal notes, Starfield I played a lot, but I didn't think it was as good as it probably should have been. So it's not really my recommendation. It's still good fun, but I just got bored with it after a little while, and I didn't think that was going to happen too soon. But some people seem to be persevering with it longer than I did. But I went off and started playing it again. But no, it turns out I checked up my Xbox stats. Game I played most this year, out of about 1,000+ hours, I have to admit, was a game called Lies of P. It's kind of based on the kind of Dark Souls genre, like hack and slash, very small guys fighting very big monsters. And it's annoying as hell. It bugged the shit out of me for a long, because it's the kind of game where you think, I'm doing really well here, and then some big guy walks around the corner, punches you in the face, and you're dead. But I kind of persevered with it, got better, got good, as the saying goes. And yeah, I did enjoy it to the point where I kind of ended up playing through it 3 times to get all the alternate endings, all the collectibles, all the achievements, and everything that goes with it. So yeah, while I know a lot of people will give up after a few hours and just hate it, it's the game I played the most, so it's probably got to be the one that I recommend out of everything for the year, I suppose.
So you played that more than jet washing?
It might have been a close second. I've got to tell you, in a unique collaboration, because Power Wash Simulator technically didn't come out this year, so I couldn't include it. But a couple of weeks back, there was some Back to the Future DLC, and I've got to tell you, the DeLorean has never looked cleaner. Hill Valley Clock Tower, gleaming. And you're lucky I'm even here at all, because today, Santa's Workshop DLC just dropped for free. I downloaded it before we came on, so you're very lucky that I was able to turn off the
Have you tried Farming Simulator?
I have, and it scared me because I could well lose a lifetime into it.
My son loves that, although every time I came in when he was playing it, he'd somehow managed to roll a tractor every single time. I don't even think that was technically possible, but it was always upside down. So
yeah,
unexpectedly dangerous.
I had a tractor-related incident that kind of made me give up on it after and then I kind of had that moment of self-reflection where it's like, what am I doing? I've spent an entire weekend just planting fields. I'm doing this for fun. What's going on? No wonder I look pale. I need to just open the window and get outside. But it's if you like simulator, Farming Simulator is brilliant. And I did make the mistake of booting up a game called Car Mechanic Simulator a couple of weeks ago. So yeah,
so you've been repairing some CV joints. Yeah,
I've been learning more about cars than I ever have in the real world. Got to tell you.
Unbelievable.
Excellent stuff. Right. Thank you very much, Ian. Simon, not seen you for a while, mate. How are you doing?
I know, yes. It's been a while, hasn't it? How you been?
Yeah, good. You?
Yeah, I'm very well. You're looking good. You're looking good.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, last time I saw you, you were much rounder.
Yeah.
it's-
I was in shape back then. I was round. Yeah, absolutely. Are you heading down under? You normally do that at this time of year.
I've been already. I went in
right.
November. Yeah,
Excellent.
in fact, I joined the podcast from Australia.
Right.
In when was that? 6th, 7th of November. That one.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's a lot of 50
the
pences
day
in
after
the
day after my stepdaughter's wedding. So I was a bit
Now
worse for
that's
wear.
dedication.
But the weather was nice. It was very nice and warm. I'm glad to be
Cool.
back, of course.
Excellent. So that's obviously a highlight for you this year. But what was your movie's highlight for the year?
Again, slightly left field. I'm not going to pick a particular film, but I'm going to pick special edition editions of 4K movies, because there have been some absolute crackers this year, and the boutique labels that are bringing these things out are really putting the effort in. Things Second Sight immediately springs to mind. But any of them, Arrow again, another one immediately springs to mind, because the effort they're putting into not only the restorations but the package and everything that you get with it, both on disc and off disc. So this year has been absolutely spectacular. Things like Texas Chainsaw Massacre with an Atmos track. I mean, come on, fantastic. 3 versions in full 4K of The Wicker Man, one of the greatest films of all time, on 4K. Just fantastic. There's been some absolute crackers. So my pick for the year is pick any of those 4K special editions, and you'll be very, very happy.
I know we could go down a rabbit hole here, but these are the labels that are going to save physical media, aren't they?
Absolutely. It's the only way.
It's a good pivot.
The big ones are making a real mess of some of their pictures.
It's a good pivot for the boutique labels to do, because at a time when 4K could have fallen over, they pivoted and they've gone, we're going to sell you a 4K with a little bit more care and love and attention on the disc, but also art cards and a badge and a really big box, and you're going to pay 50 quid for it.
I don't mean to sound smug, but there is a precedent for
I
this.
know.
You are very welcome.
Well, there is, and that precedent is Laserdisc.
Laserdisc, yeah. It's a good pivot for them, because, as Simon said, all the major studios, they're kind of messing up a little bit because they're being very lazy. And it seems like the boutique labels have maybe taken
there's some fantastic stuff out there. Thank you very much for that, Simon. We'll get your expectations in a little while. Let's go back to some home AV. Matt, what's your highlight?
Probably the interesting move from Sound United this year. So there was they released 2 flagships. So they had I think it was the AV10 on the Marantz side, and that one won some awards. We talked about that last week. But then they also launched the Denon A1H, which was the A1 line that hasn't seen a refresh, I think, since 2007. It's been a really long time. And I think the thing itself weighs like 70 pounds. It's got 15 channels and 4 subwoofer outs. And they, along with most of the other Sound United stuff, have also given you the option now between Odyssey or Dirac for your post EQ stuff. So I just think that they're making some really interesting moves, really different price points. It's actually something that seems attainable if you want to go down that 9.4.6 route. Whereas, like, obviously everybody wants a Trinoff and wants the Kaleidoscapes and those, but unless you have a rich uncle or no Kaz is Santa Claus, there's no chance. So I'm really looking forward to, hopefully we can get one in. I'd love to review one of those A1Hs.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll be my aspiration. But yeah, the highlight I thought was that general move from Sound United to shake things up quite a bit in that space.
Yeah, no, it is interesting that's we're starting to see that trickle down effect from the higher end into more. I'm going to say more affordable. They're still expensive bits.
It's still out of reach, but at least it's dreamable.
Yeah, it's attainable. So there you go. Thanks very much for that, Matt. We'll come back and get your expectations. I think we're going to touch on some of these subjects when we get on to next year's possible highlights. Back to movies again. Mark, the semi-professional movie critic, is going to give us his highlight.
Very semi.
Always. I think for me, seconding everything that Simon said, it's been a great year for discs, and I want to shout out 1080p as well. Everyone forgets about good old 1080p.
I was going to mention Sensor actually, because that was another superb set.
highlights, but I'm not going to dwell on the discs because my shout out for this year, and surprisingly so, was the rise of the documentary. Now, we've always had documentaries. Netflix has probably made a killing off the back of literally killing, with just about every true life serial killer immortalized over the last few years. But I think this year we saw a sea change. And it was driven by pop culture documentaries. So the likes of The Supermodels on Apple TV, still a Michael J. Fox movie, Pamela Love Story and Arnold on Netflix. We've even got the latest one, Welcome to the Darkness, which is an absolute bloody hoot, quite frankly. RoboDoc, 5 hours of the making of RoboCop, which, believe me, feels about 4.5 hours too long. But then you've got the more serious documentaries as well, the likes of The Deepest Breath on Netflix had me in absolute floods of tears.
Did you watch the Wirecard one on Netflix?
No, I haven't. What's that one, Ed?
I don't want to spoil it. If you didn't know it was a documentary and it was the plot of a film, you'd go, that's utterly bloody unrealistic. It can't possibly have happened that way, but it did.
Superb.
And it's the stuff. It just don't hijack this, but no, because I don't trust Netflix to actually make more of the dramas that I like. I very rarely watch them. So their documentary output is something that I spend a fair bit of time with. I completely agree with you. It's being able to tap and give time to stories that otherwise probably wouldn't get told, and I am here for that in a big way. It's brilliant. Completely agree.
I mean, it's been fascinating because you got the likes of Arnold, the likes of Sly, the likes of Beckham, dare I say, even that Robbie Williams one. Some of them feel a little bit polished, but they're pushing all those bloody nostalgia buttons, something rotten.
Yeah, aren't they produced by the makers, though?
Of course they are, but you've got that breadth.
A little pinch of salt.
Of course you have, but you've got that breadth as well. I mean, I've some of the sports documentaries this year. The Super League War for Football on Apple TV was amazing. Bye Bye Barry on Disney Plus for NFL fans.
Welcome to Wrexham. Come on.
Welcome to Wrexham. So I think for too long I dismissed documentaries, and I think this was the year where I think they pushed back on me, and they pushed back hard. So
this is a shorthand way of saying this is the year I got old.
This is the year I turned into my dad.
Just saying, the Complete World at War is on UK TV, and you can probably now just nail that and just bathe in it.
I'm not there yet.
You will be. You will be.
Ed, I've got to say, I've lost touch with air crash investigation. Is that still a thing? Is it still going?
I don't know. It's not. It's been removed from Disney. It's not on now. I can only assume it's on some sort of additional Nat Geo weirdness. But I don't know if we're doing shameless plugs. If you are missing air crash investigation, a friend of mine put me onto a YouTube channel called Mentor Pilot, Mentour Pilot, and it's basically air crash investigation with all of the Amdram cabin stuff like stripped out, and it's just like they socked into the ground because they were idiots. And it's and he's a training pilot for a major Scandinavian airline. He's not doing it on the wing. He knows exactly what he's talking about. He just doesn't mince his words or build up dramatic tension. He goes, yeah, they crashed because they were shit. It's brilliant. It is very, very compelling YouTube television. So if you're missing it, go for that instead.
Excellent. Right, Ed, what was your hi-fi highlights of the year?
Yeah, I wanted to avoid anything that I talked about in the awards. I thought about this, and the highlight, for a reason I will try and explain in a very short space of time, Musical Fidelity A1. The review is still up on the site. It's the year of our various gods, 2023, and you can buy an amplifier which runs at 60 degrees, consumes electricity like a 1-bar electric fire, and pumps out a mighty 25 watts. It looks like it escaped from 1985 because it escaped from 1985. And do you know what? It is fabulous. It is enjoyable in a way that even the Riga that I gave product of the year probably isn't. If you can stomach the fact that it is heroically inefficient, and listening to it in the summer will require you to do it in your underwear, it's just brilliant. And I don't want to
watch films.
I was going to say, it's the only way to listen to it.
I don't want to pretend that £1,500 isn't a lot of money, but compared to what we were talking about, Kaleidoscape and things like that, it's doable. I mean, you need to budget for electricity consumption or get a solar install or do something like that. But it sooner or later, even an industry as small and as ignorable as ours, is going to get cracked down on, and you won't be able to get something as heroically stupid as this brand new in a box anymore. And just enjoy it whilst it lasts, because if you pay attention to its whims and make sure you don't put anything on top of it so it doesn't melt and things like that, as a means of sitting down and listening to music, not listening to hi-fi, listening to music, I don't think I enjoyed anything more this year. I couldn't give it an award for all of the reasons I've just stated. It's wildly impractical, but it's wonderful. So that's my highlight. I also want to just put in a shameless plug for the review that is now all primed and ready to go live on Christmas Day. So when you need to avoid your family for a period of time, I have put 4,500 words down on the product that's going live on Christmas Day. That is another highlight, because for different reasons it is utterly sublime. So those are the highlights. The award winners are the award winners. They get their awards because they are genuinely and objectively brilliant. Those two things are subjectively brilliant, and that's why they're highlights.
My highlights should be about TVs, but I spoke about it last week in quite some detail, and again, there wasn't anything that stood out particularly this year. Everything, when you look at, we started 20 years ago doing this, and back in the days of primitive LCDs with CCFL backlights and plasma, and you just look at where we are now in terms of TV, we're spoiled rotten. We can get studio grading reference pictures in the home at any screen size you like, and even from projectors now, and high dynamic range and everything else, and Dolby Atmos and so on. So, I don't have anything else that I need to say in terms of TV, because the highlights are that we're enjoying, probably the best time we've ever had in terms of picture quality. Enjoy it, people. There's no such thing as a perfect TV. Find one that suits you, and all the flagships are very much the same. So flip a coin, pick the one that suits your use case. What I do want to mention is my highlight was at CES back in January. It's a product that is not coming to the UK, unfortunately, but just spending a little bit of time with it, it really blew me away. And it's an old hi-fi brand that's come back to life, Ed. So Nakamichi, the Dragon, their soundbar system. They call it a soundbar. It's actually a home cinema in a box, if you want to get technically correct about these things. It was utterly brilliant. Best thing I've heard in a long time in terms of soundbars. If you told me, if it was a blind test and you told me it was an AVR with a full speaker system, I would have believed you. That's how good it was. And it's just a shame that it's not coming to the UK, and the company don't have any plans. The Nakamichi name has been bought by a third party. They're trying to make it work. The US is obviously a huge market. That's where they're going to make things work if it's going to take off. So hopefully, and I know it has been successful, that product, and there are product lines. So if they do get to a stage where they can bring it into the UK or find a distributor to bring it into the UK, then we will obviously cover it, and it's something you should go and check out. But that was my highlight. Not TV. It was a soundbar, but it was just one of those products. They come along now and again that just, absolutely sublime. Really good. You were nodding your head there, Matt. Have you seen it? Have you heard it?
Yeah. I thought there's YouTube coverage on it. It's immense from the US guys. And they're crazy about it. They're all going nuts. There's a lot of comparisons because stateside Sonos is really big. So they do the 5.1 comparison to that, and it's like they're saying it's night and day. And Sonos isn't that bad, really, for that type of consumer.
Sonos is really, really good, but this Nakamichi thing is just, it's really, really good.
Well, it's nice that something's wearing a badge that prestigious that actually delivers
up to it.
Yeah.
As long as it's incredibly complicated to use and has 8 million superfluous controls, like Nakamichi stuff used to, then it will be perfect.
Yeah, and the CEO of the company that now own the brand, so down to earth. Spent some time with them on the stand, looking at in their suite, actually looking at the product and so on, and he's determined to make it happen. And it's a small team at the minute, but yeah, good luck to them. It was a fantastic product. Right, so that's our highlights of 2023. Let's get our crystal balls out and look forward to 2024 and our expectations.
If you enjoy the podcast on YouTube, then please like and subscribe. If you're listening to the audio version, then please leave us a rating on your podcast app. We invite you to email questions and feedback to podcast@avforums.com and join in with this episode's discussion thread in the podcasts forum at AVForums.
Okay, so what is it, or what are we looking forward to in 2024? Is it movies? Is it hardware? Is it new TVs? Is it projectors? Martin, what are you looking forward to next year?
The thing I'm most excited about for next year actually just arrived through my front door on Tuesday, which is 2 of the Lingdorf 8-channel MXA 8400 power amplifiers, which I will duly be hooking up to my Lingdorf preamp over the Christmas break and beyond. And although this product was officially announced back in October, it didn't in reality come online until just a couple of weeks ago. And so I assume I'll be posting my review in the not too distant future. But I really was excited about this product. It is finally here. With respect to 2024, there's nothing coming down the pipeline that I'm necessarily drawn to, although I'd love to see what some of the mid-price projector manufacturers are going to propose this year. It'd be nice to see BenQ do something that's a little more fleshed out than their semi-portable 4K projectors, and I'd like to see maybe an installation projector from them.
Okay, good stuff. And anything away from AV that you're looking forward to? I know you've got previous with movies and all the rest of it. So is there any movies coming next year that you're looking forward to, anticipating?
Again, no, not particularly, but I'm lucky enough because I'm a member of the Screen Actors Guild that I get a lot of the screeners from the past year, which won't get released until the year coming up in theatrically over here. So there are a few that have kind of piqued my interest, but nothing completely jumping out at me. Yeah.
Do you know what? I still blame Team America that when you say Screen Actors Guild, I'm sure you mean Film Actors Guild.
I know. Yeah. I just watched that sequence again actually the other day on the Blu-ray. It's so funny. Yeah.
Damon. Right.
What's the signal?
But, I'm gonna have to go and watch that again. Kaz, movies. What are you looking forward to next year?
Yeah, well, we did a whole rundown of 20 to look forward to. It's really quite tough to put together, and we're always missing them. So we put together the list, and we came up with Dune 2 as a highlight, and Mad Max, the new Furiosa film. I mean, there are lots of things to look forward to, but there's one that's not on the list, which just got the trailer release for it. It's the latest from Alex Garland. So Garland's the guy who did Ex Machina, and he more recently did Men, and he did Dread, and his latest is Civil War. Just dropped a trailer to release April 2024, and it's kind of an epic sci-fi movie, totally out of character for him. He does do pure sci-fi, but he does hard sci-fi, indie sci-fi, and he's gone more full scale, like a live action version of the Division video game, and it looks cracking. It looks really, really good, and I can't say it wouldn't have made our top 20 if we'd got to it sooner, but they literally only dropped the trailer a couple of days ago. So I'm gonna put that in as my choice.
Okay, good stuff. And away from movies, anything else that you're looking forward to next year?
I mean, you know what? Away from movies,
It does exist, Kaz.
Mm.
Breathe deep.
Yeah, I know it's a hard thing. I mean, this could be the year for a new car. You know,
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Come
I mean,
on.
I'm not going wild here, but I have been eyeing up an S series Audi, which you know, I don't know, an S4. Maybe something. I mean, I do like my Audis. It would be secondhand, so I'm not driving.
Is it? But by eyeing it up, do you mean like break the window and drive it away?
Yeah, funnily enough, I did actually see one in the
competitive pricing. You can't argue.
I was thinking I could get into it, but I thought I'm not going to do like they do in the movies and break the driver's side window, then get in and then like brush all the glass off and then sit on what's left. It just seems. Just break the passenger side.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Anyway, no, maybe new car, maybe. But
Okay.
if I can't get that, then I bought my son a Lego Ducati, Technics Lego Ducati motorcycle. It's huge, and I'm going to steal that.
Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, thank you very much, Kaz. Let's move back to gaming. So, what's coming out 2024? What we're looking forward to in that realm, Ian?
It's been quite tough because there's nothing that leaps out immediate to me. So in preparation for this, I kind of made a list. So, well, I'll run through a bunch of names so that anybody listening can maybe just pause it, write them down, and then Google them or look them up on the forums to see what everyone else is talking about. But short term ones that I'm kind of looking at that look interesting. Prince of Persia: Lost Crown, Tekken 8 coming out early the new year. Probably the one I'm looking forward to most in the short term is Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League, which is it's like a fun twist from the guys who made the Batman Arkham series. It's also the Pirate Adventures Skull and Bones from Ubisoft, which is finally going to be coming out in the new year. So I'm quite interested to see whether that could be good or an absolute disaster. Similarly, the same kind of story with the Alone in the Dark reboot starring David Harbour and Jodie Comer. That could be brilliant, could be terrible, but I'm intrigued either way. A little bit further down the line, ones that I'm keeping an eye on that are due to come out in 2024 at least, include the likes of Still Wakes the Deep, Little Nightmares 3, which should be amazing, Star Wars Outlaw, should be good, some more interesting RPGs such as Avowed, there's the Hellblade 2 sequel, fans of the Yakuza franchise might like the looks of Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and there's a bunch more titles along those lines. Ones that also the gamers of a certain age, and I very much include myself in that mix, would be, I'm not sure if they're coming out in 2024 or not, but Sega did announce a whole bunch of reboots that are coming, including the likes of Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi, Golden Age, Shinobi, Streets of Rage. So yeah, if anybody's as old as I am, they're going to be looking forward to those, no doubt. And probably plenty more, but I'm thinking obviously GTA's 2025. The new Light No Fire from the guys behind No Man's Sky, that's probably going to be a year or two away at best. So there's a lot of big games in the pipeline, but still quite a few TBC for 2024.
Okay, and any simulation games that you're looking forward to in the new year?
Any Power Wash Simulator DLC is a must. And if there's a sequel, then very much count me in.
Okay, and anything else that you're looking forward to? Movies or games or whatever?
And the only thing that I've mentioned, I've just hooked up an Apple TV subscription. So, and I've not had it before, I've not used Apple TV before. So basically, it's not new stuff, but I've got a lot of catching up.
You
so
can
I've been taking a lot of notes
mainline
from the
slow
guys
horses.
Here. Yeah, that's on my
slow
list.
horses. Top of the
sex
list.
noises.
Yeah, no, it's quite a big list, and that is currently at the top of it. But I'm just trying to clear a backlog before. But yeah, I've got a lot of viewing to do.
Okay, before we move away from gaming, anybody else here tonight, gamers looking forward to anything in the year? Or
I wanted to play Grand Theft Auto, but it's not.
No,
it's not
25.
out. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's 2 years away.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of a stupid trailer to drop. Like now, just wait till next month or something. At least we can say it's next year.
The billion hits on YouTube would say otherwise about whether it is worth putting out or not.
Billion hits.
They made a lot of
right. Simon's gonna tell us what to look forward to in 2024.
Okay, so yeah, not one specific. I'm just looking forward to some of what I hope will be a bumper year for legacy content. I mean, we know now that Cameron's big three are coming out, so I'm anticipating some great and wonderful stuff in and around that era. We can, there are pipe dreams, and that's really what I'm looking forward to, just to see what is going to come out on this fantastic format that we love and adore. If I had to narrow it down to one film, which was dropped today on that Tom wrote, Godzilla -1, I'm looking forward to that on 4K because I think that's going to be awesome.
Oh, I hope we get a 4K for that.
So do I.
Yeah, I mean it's got a wide theatrical. But of the 4K, you mentioned all the Cameron discs next year. Which one? And which one do we think is going to be the least controversial?
Well, I want it to be both cuts of Aliens. If it's only theatrical of Alien, then sodja. I'll go with True Lies.
What if it's the extended cut of Aliens with too much DNR?
Well, it's going to be because he shot it on such bad stock that
I know, but I mean,
it
apparently
needs
he's,
to be cleaned up. So.
he's
You don't have to
cleaned it
DNR
up.
it out, do you? Just
No.
code, it'll be
but-
fine.
But
He's
But it
done-
has been.
Yeah,
has been.
He's
It's
done
my-
something AI to it.
This is the year that AI and James Cameron team up to destroy cinema.
Dear.
Or next year. I should
Destroy.
say.
I can hear Linda Hamilton giving me a warning about this, and
Yeah.
I'm not happy about it.
The thing is, though, we've all got hints, haven't we? Because they dropped all the iTunes versions of them on Tuesday. So I've already seen The Abyss in 4K, and I'm halfway through Aliens in 4K.
And
I
you
tell-
love it.
And I tell you what, they're glorious, but they ain't film.
Oh,
Oh dear! And if we think the film going internet forum clientele have lost their collective shit now, wait until the discs come out in March. Oh, it is tin hat time there, I tell you.
I have a friend who works for Lightstorm, and he does a lot of their mastering engineering for them. And he was under the impression a year ago that The Abyss and a couple of the others were not going to have Dolby Atmos audio, but it looks like they're all getting the Atmos treatment. And all slated for March the 12th, I think, stateside, but we haven't had a date here yet, have we?
Oh, that's
But it'll
marvelous.
probably be the same.
Yeah.
There you go.
There we go. Excellent. Thank you very much, Simon. And anything away from movies that you're looking forward to next year?
A few summer barbecues. Hopefully, we get some summer this year. That'll be very
Oh,
nice.
you've just jinxed it now. Thanks, mate.
I'll build an ark instead.
Excellent. Thanks, Simon. Right. Back to hardware, Matt.
Yeah. I think we talked about this in the last episode a little bit. I think I'm going to be very keen to see what happens with center channels moving forward with bigger TVs. You got nowhere to put them. What do you do with them? I think that's going to be the thing to solve. And I don't think that's going away anytime soon, especially because I think there's going to be more TVs over USTs or whatever coming out. So I think that's an interesting one. There's an interesting company that came across via one of the forums that I kind of want to review just because of the name. The name is called Ham Rammer. I think they're Nordic. And I think it literally means berserker in Norwegian or whatever it is. So I'd be super curious to see what they're all about. It looks kind of like a DIY design. It's like almost a Sendo with the coax bit, but a little bit of DIY. I don't know that's kind of my. It just seems a very intriguing proposition, and at a price point that is way more affordable than the Ascendo one. So, if there's an opportunity there, I think I might seize that.
Yeah, well, you've sold it to me, so yeah.
Yeah.
Let's have a review of that.
Just for the name alone. So there's that. I might try if I can save my fingers and thumbs after trying to build some acoustic panels. I might have a go at some DIY, like actual speakers, or might start with the subwoofer or just something to just try that.
Build yourself a set of horns. That's always the absolute ground zero of batshit insanity.
I already got two.
No, I mean you know what I mean. A good full range 4 or 5-way horn loud system. You know,
I'll go.
Which
I'll go
you can
full
power without an amplifier. Just literally send the output from the preamp into it, and that'll be enough voltage. That's the way forward. Incredibly energy efficient. I mean, sure you have to give over half your room to them, but you know, that's the future. Man.
The wife will be pleased. Good.
And away from AV and hardware, anything else that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm looking for. I think if I'm following Kaz and the guys correctly, all those strikes and things are done, right? So that means we might actually get a plethora of content coming now.
Well, there'll be a chunk of time
while it's
where,
being made.
where they've got to make all these movies. So it just depends how well they've done in stretching out what was going to be released last year. So we're going to see things like June 2 that should have come out like earlier this year, next year. So it depends what they push into 24 to fill the gap.
Gotcha. So is Tom Cruise's second Mission Impossible coming out then, or are they not even? Is that like a GTA? They shouldn't have talked about it, and now it's 3 years away.
It's I think 25 at the earliest. But I am looking forward to that when it comes. Now. Save it for the next.
This time next year.
Yeah.
I've definitely got a fallback though. I just found out last week that my wife's never seen Airplane, so definitely gonna have to.
Surely not.
Shocking.
Don't call me Shirley.
Has she seen,
I don't know what she's got to do with it, but if my wife found out, no, I'm joking.
Has she seen Team America?
No, she hasn't seen that either.
dear.
So yeah,
The
all
uncut
the what we
version
would
is
consider
great.
classics, I need to get her involved in.
Mm.
Excellent. Right. I've kind of lost my place now. Where are we? Mark.
For me, it's the death and rebirth of blockbuster cinema next year. I think this year, all the old guard failed. Indy died. Ethan Hunt died. They all failed miserably, relatively speaking, of course. And I think you just have to look at next year's slate and the combination of we're still dealing with some of the ramifications of COVID, the strikes, you name it. And you only have to look at our list and all the usual type of films that you'd expect to be on the most anticipated films aren't really there. We've got a few, June 2 is in there. You'd argue Furiosa possibly. But I think there is a gap next year, and I do not know what is going to fill it in those traditional blockbuster schedules, but I am fascinated to see what is going to be next year's possible Barbenheimer, dare we say. But I'm hoping it's going to be something different, and I think it's really pleasing to see at the tail end of this year with Godzilla -1 and everyone getting behind that, the groundswell of support from the critics to the box office already behind that. I think that could signify a real sea change in terms of big screen spectacle, and I can't wait to see, and I hope it is something completely left field. However, having said all that, the two films I'm still looking forward to most next year are Robert Eggers' Nosferatu and Terrifier 3.
Terrifier 3.
I'm waiting to see if it's going to be any longer than the 2-hour 45 minutes Terrifier 2.
I'm
glorious
assuming
film.
that
Fingers
you
crossed
are.
for 4 hours.
I'm assuming you are thoroughly terrified by the end of 2 hours and 45 minutes.
I was many things at the end of 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Prolapsed.
Tired was
Haven't
one
you,
of them.
haven't you got Terrifier 1 and 2 on 4K to look forward to?
Well, again, yes, I have. But yeah, it's just going to be a good year. This year, I think everyone will agree was not a bumpy year at the cinema, regardless of blockbuster or otherwise. Reasons for that, but I think hopefully let's hope the studios and the distributors are learning the right lessons from these changes and not the wrong lessons.
Okay. Right, I think we're almost done. There's just me now, and then Ed with a high-five roundup. So, right, my predictions are actually the same as what we did in the awards at the end. I think it's an interesting year ahead because we're starting to see some splits in terms of, Mark's just mentioned it in terms of the movie side of things, in terms of people and this hobby and what they do. There's definite different ways that this industry is moving at the minute. We see a lot of downsizing at the minute. So people coming from big cinema systems in their homes, they're now, thinking about their living space and so on. We went into this in detail in the last podcast. So if you want our thoughts on that, go listen to that podcast from last week. But I see that as being a big groundswell this year. I think we're going to see more interior design in terms of how kit is integrated into our homes, and the whole smart and streaming and so on. And then the other flip of the coin is something that Matt touched on and Martin as well. I think we're going to see the high end develop more channels, more towards what you can actually get in the digital cinema. In fact, probably better than what you can get at the cinema. That technology is then going to trickle down. So I think you're going to have two distinct camps in the year ahead, and it's going to be interesting to see how that works. And not just in terms of the kit, but also in terms of the software that people are watching, whether that's physical media, is that streaming media. I think we're going to see some changes there. I think as the infrastructure gets better and streaming gets more and more popular, it's going to be tough for physical media. I'm interested in seeing how that plays out. As much as I have, I love certain areas of the industry, I think we've got to be pragmatic and realistic as to where things are going to go and where the groundswell is going to go, but also where the niches are going to develop. And we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier in terms of, the boutique labels. That's definitely a growth area. You just have to look at Laserdisc. You just have to look at vinyl. These were areas where those formats should have died a long time ago.
You shut your whore mouth.
and Laserdisc did eventually die because DVD came along and it was better quality and it had the same plus points. But Laserdisc survived because it was the boutique labels like Pioneer that took it on, and they developed the special editions, the commentary tracks, the extras, and all that kind of thing. And I think if physical media is going to survive, that's where it will survive as a niche. And you just got to accept that it is going to be a niche market.
Are they still releasing players, Phil?
Releasing, no. In production, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the problem. It requires.
It's more complicated than a record player.
It is. Well, I've said that before, but it does. It's not so complicated that it can't be done, and it sort of hinges on requirements beyond you enthusiastic gentlemen in your films. If there's a requirement across certain parts of Office and IT and so on and so forth that require the drives to keep being made, the drives are the drives are the drives. We've established this. They can be built for any particular reason, and they can be stuffed into anything between a box made out of floppy plastic or something with wooden side cheeks and a big display and VU meters. It doesn't matter. It just needs to exist, and if it continues to exist, then it's fine. But I don't want to bet either way on that. I'm sorry. I don't want to be disappointing, but I don't know if that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I think as we get to the midpoint of the decade, this is the interesting time now that we're getting into this now, where and I think COVID kind of accelerated a lot of this. I know we blame it for a lot of things, but and we went into this last week. So to me, it's going to be an interesting year. I'm looking forward to CES, but I'm looking forward to see CES to see where the trends are. If the predictions are right, if companies are going the way that we think they're going to go. In terms of TV, it's going to stay the same. You're going to get small improvements going forward. There's not going to be anything that's going to knock your socks off, because at the minute it's all about yields in terms of micro LED and so on. That's still years and years and years away. So it'll be small incremental changes there and improvements. So that's my expectations for 2024. I think it's going to be a very, very interesting year leading into 25 as well. Right, Ed. Obviously, one of the trends that I'm seeing in the industry, and I think other people are seeing it, is the downsizing. It's not necessarily downsizing, but it's a move back to
rationalizing.
Yeah,
is a better word.
And I think
that doesn't mean that multi-channel is irrational, please, in case someone is very angry about this. But if you are deciding how you streamline a system in the face of having more people in your house, having less space in your house, and so on and so forth, making a move from having many speakers around the room to two, and then expecting that two-channel equipment to do many of the things that you have grown comfortable with in a multi-channel environment is completely logical. And I'm very critical of the hi-fi industry at times, because it's a tremendously slow learner and it manages to get things wrong a lot of the time. But it is very slowly and very deliberately learning that if you incorporate one or two bits from your failed AV receiver program in your two-channel hi-fi, people buy it and people like it. Auto setup, HDMI ARC, app control, things like that.
That for me, HDMI ARC is the big trigger point. That's the thing that's made this move, I think.
No, absolutely. In this December clutch of reviews that I'm writing at the moment, we've got two dinky, affordable integrated amplifiers with HDMI ARC. And this comes down to your priorities. You can buy a soundbar with faux Atmos and, artificial surround, and that might be your poison if you watch a lot of film material. But if you're wanting to mix a sort of TV and music portfolio, that sounds pretentious, doesn't it? But that's the basic premise. If you want to do that, then these little amplifiers, which turn on with your television, they require no adjustments to behavior from your family. They can still press standby on the TV remote. The volume control will still work in exactly the same way, but it goes out to a little pair of stereo speakers. The performance when it actually comes to listen to music, and people are listening to more music, and thanks to the way that streaming services have changed, they're listening to music in higher quality than they have been in 15 years, then all of a sudden, then it becomes a different calculation, and it's going to go in lots and lots of different ways. But where it gets really bonkers, and this is my prediction bit, it's going to start changing the shape, not at the entry level. It's going to start changing the shape at the next level up, because people are coming into two-channel from about, without exaggeration, about 5 different waves of happening into two-channel. From all the way from, I've been playing about with true wireless earbuds on my mobile phone through to actually the soundbar with 3 channels across the front sounds a bit shite. So I've gone down to 2 channels and so on and so forth. And there's all sorts of permutations between that. And this shape starts having extraordinary effects on the equipment that's a level up from that. And I did say in the last podcast that there's going to be a bit of suck out, for want of a better phrase, between very affordable stuff because it's all blindingly good and the high end where it's meaningfully better. The only path that manufacturers have between these two positions is much cleverer items in this midfield pricing, by which I mean £1,000 to about £4,000. And I'm afraid if you take offence with that, then I'm sorry, but that is the nature of how pricing is in an industry where 2-channel equipment comfortably now exceeds £250,000 a box. If you choose the wrong manufacturer, that's pretty far down. So that's my prediction. The people who are going to make money and be successful above the entry level are the people who work out how to appeal to this massively disparate group of people who have happened into 2-channel for different reasons. You've got to offer them a compelling reason out of what they've got now. Can I also say, in a non-hi-fi sense, it's a standing joke that I visit the cinema infrequently, but I am absolutely psyched for the second Dune movie. I cannot remember being so excited to see a film which I know how it ends. That's a bit of a weird one. I mean, I know the plot, but I'm still genuinely falling over myself to see the second Dune film. So
let's just hope they actually release it.
Well, I mean, feel free to shit on my duvet, Kaz. That's absolutely fine. I'm confident that they will. And then music-wise, there's loads and loads of things. And then finally, like Kaz, I'm not thinking about buying a new car. I have to. I have 6 months left on my lease. I don't think I'm going to lease again because leasing's got tremendously expensive. And because I've taken leave of my senses, I'm getting increasingly close to the idea of buying an Alfa Romeo. Because why not?
Why not? Midlife crisis. Come on.
No. It's not just that. You get. I mean, admittedly, there's a reason why you get a lot of car for the given price point. But I don't drive particularly far. And I have a tame mechanic amongst my very best friends. I mean, how long he'll be my best friend for, I don't know. But I mean, I'm strongly tempted by buying an Alfa Romeo Giulia. So yeah, that'll be fun. I'm going to enjoy the back half of 2024, where I say, yes, I did intend to come to your press launch, but unfortunately it didn't work out entirely as I anticipated because
I test drove the Giulia Quadrifoglio. That car scared me. That car.
Oh, I'm not going that far up unless I do well on a lottery win. I'm thinking more at the sort of 275 brake school of Giulia, which should be brisk enough. I think is probably how it goes there when it works.
Right, Ed. Let's wrap up this party with your recommendations for the best album, vinyl, and playlists of the year, please.
Right, I got messaged by Stuart, who's in the background monitoring all of this. What are my recommendations? The reason I hadn't put them in because I hadn't decided, and he made me decide on the fly. And I don't know if I actually want to go with this, but I'm going to because I've already said it is, and he's going to plumb them in. Album of the year was Orbital's Optical Delusion. And the reason for this is that 10 years ago, bit more than 10 years, no, 10 years ago, Orbital were about to retire and they were all out of ideas. They released some thoroughly indifferent material. And then they came back, and I don't know what they did whilst they were retired, but they have released some of the most interesting and compelling stuff they've done in their whole 30-plus year career. And they released a box set to celebrate their 30-year career. Optical Delusion, it's not perfect. It's got a track from Sleaford Mods on it, but you can skip that. It's just interesting electronic music, and I'm always here for interesting electronic music. It's beautifully recorded, actually. It goes very deep and it goes very high. The vinyl release is blinding, but it's on all the major streaming services. You can buy it on any format you see fit, and it is tremendously enjoyable, which is why eventually it became my album of the year. Vinyl release of the year, Public Service Broadcasting worked with the BBC to release This New Noise. And the reason it's my vinyl release of the year is it's actually genuinely dangerous physical media. And we can't say fairer than that. if you don't set your phono stage correctly and so on, if you're a moving magnet, you're fine. But if you've got posh turntables, I very nearly damaged my phono stage with this album. It's got so much welly, I actually got overload warnings and it shut down. So it's a properly beefy piece of vinyl. So yeah, what you can't say fairer than that. And it's great to listen to. Again, if you don't have a turntable because you're sane, you can enjoy it on all the major streaming services and it's excellent. I didn't do a playlist recommendation because I didn't keep track of all the ones I recommended over the year. I do remember I recommended one of ambient sort of drone music that made lots of people really angry. So that would be, that's well worth revisiting. I just wanted to remind people as we head to this festive period that the greatest Christmas album of all time wasn't recorded this century. It was recorded a long, long time ago. If your Christmas spirit is flagging, and let's face it, at some point in this festive period it will, I want to remind you all that the 1957 Elvis Presley Christmas album is the single greatest Christmas album that has ever been recorded, bar none. And I'm not being facetious here. You can sit down as a group of, you can sit down with the most cynical and jaded human beings that you know.
Well, all of us.
Yes, I know. Trust me on this. This album is absolutely glorious. It was recorded in a sweltering shed in July. How they did it, I will never know. It was recorded also incredibly quickly because Elvis's schedule didn't allow for any more time than that. It is still the single most perfect Christmas album ever recorded. So if you're feeling a bit down, if you're not feeling in any way Christmassy, dig it out. It's on again. I want to sound like a stuck record here. I mean, I do have it actually. I have a 1957 first pressing, but if you don't, it's on all the major streaming services. And forget Mickey Bubbles and all these new pretenders and all the rest of it. Elvis Presley's Christmas album. Just give it a shot this Christmas. There is nothing better.
Well, thank you very much. Close? No?
Yeah, no, it's compelling.
Decent. Right. Thank you very much, Ed. And that basically wraps up our Christmas podcast special. So thank you very much for watching and listening. It wraps up the year, and we are coming back with a podcast. We're coming back with a slightly different podcast in the new year, and it will be also migrating over to the AVForums podcast YouTube channel. So if you're on YouTube, go find the channel now and subscribe to it so you don't miss out on podcast in the new year. There won't be any live podcasts, but what we are doing is we're recording the podcast.
There won't be any regular
live podcast. We'll be recording the majority of the podcasts. But what that allows us to do, it allows us to deep dive into certain subjects, really get involved in what it is that we all love about the hobby. We're not restricted to 90 minutes and have to fit all the different subjects in there. We can really deep dive and look at all the different areas that need to be looked at. So that's the idea. We then know that we've got 12 episodes of each podcast, so they'll be well planned. We do this on the fly every week. They'll be well planned, they'll be well researched, and we can really get stuck into things that you guys want to know about.
I love it when we overpromise. I really do.
Yeah, overpromise and certainly underdeliver. That's our motto. But yeah, anything that you want to know about, whether it's movies, movie production, grading, all that kind of thing, we're going to really deep dive where we can. We're going to get guests involved and hopefully take the podcast up a little notch as well in terms of what we can offer you guys. So any feedback, then get it in. Go to the podcast forum. That's the best place to go on AV Forums. Right down the bottom of the forum list, you'll find the podcast forum. Leave us your feedback in there on this episode, or what you're looking forward to in the new year and what you'd like us to do on the podcast. Don't forget AV Forums podcast YouTube channel. Go and subscribe now so you don't miss any of the future podcasts that are going to turn up on there. There'll be the long versions as well as little snippets of the best bits from each episode as well. And I'm just going to take the opportunity as well, because this is the last podcast before CES. We are covering the show yet again this year. Thank you very much to MPB for helping us get our coverage together. So Ian and Andy will be covering the news in the UK from Vegas, because that's the easiest place to do it. They can watch the live streams. They can get the news up straight away. Whereas if you're actually at the event, it's impossible to do that because you're running from press conference to press conference. So my job over there will be, as always, getting the interviews with the people that you guys want to hear about. You want to hear about the new TVs and AV and all the rest of it. So stay tuned for our coverage. It starts on the 8th of January on our main YouTube channel, and of course AV Forums. Look at the homepage, everything that comes up on there. And of course you can use the tag system. So if you go into any news or video footage stories on AV Forums, look at the tags at the top, click CES, and it'll bring up all our CES coverage. And of course we'll have some direct pages as well. So that's all coming up straight after the new year on the 8th of January. So keep that in mind. Go subscribe to the channels, and of course subscribe for the new podcast in the new year. But that's it. My thanks to Martin, Ed, Matt, Ian, Kaz, Simon, and Mark. Thank you very much, guys.
Merry
Thank
Christmas,
you,
everyone.
sir.
Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
And of course, do all the usual social media cliched things like liking and pressing buttons and thumbs and all the rest of it. Of course, you can buy me a coffee.com/AVForums. Go buy us a coffee if you enjoyed the show. And of course, we're over all the socials. And of course, the last thing we need to do on this very special episode is to wish you all a very good and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Whatever you do at this time of the year, we hope you enjoy it. Hope you spend lots of time with your family. And don't forget to come back and see us again in the new year. I'm Phil Hinton. Thank you very much for watching and listening, and a Merry Christmas.